Figured I'd go live for a little bit today. I don't have anything else going on. So, those that are just kind of coming in randomly, my name is Paige, and my content is mostly about living with multiple sclerosis. So we'll see if there's anybody who knows who I am is out there. Hello, Goldilocks. Thanks for joining. So we'll see if anybody else. You have SPMS. How long have you lived with multiple sclerosis? Steelers girl, hello, welcome. I'm seeing a few people. 3 years. So you've had MS for 3 years. So were you secondary progressive at the time you were diagnosed then? Oh, Steelers girl, well, thank you. Thanks for the rose. So we've got some people filtering now. I'm recognizing some usernames coming in. No, RRMS. Okay. So were you recently, did you recently transition over to SP? Hello, Zinky. I'm okay right now. See, Goldilocks, doctor said I have had it probably over 15 years. Let me get my comments over here so I can see them better. Wow. Yeah, that seems to be the case sometimes, when you think back, if you've lived with MS for a long time, you kind of think back and you think of just kind of weird stuff that happened throughout your life, and you start kind of relating everything to the possibility it was the beginning of multiple sclerosis within the last year. Okay. Thank you. C. Langy 519. Thank you. It's a fun style. Some people think it's crazy, but I like it. RISNP. I have been officially diagnosed with RRMS since 2011. I've been living with it for, it's strange for me to say, almost 5 years now. It'll be 5 years for me in March. So glad to see. Oh, because I haven't. You mean because I haven't done lives for a while? I overthink everything. And every time I would go live, I would overthink it and just psych myself up, and it ended up being such an exhausting experience that I stopped doing them for a while because my brain just overthinks everything. But thanks for your concern. I do still post videos regularly, though. Same thing here. Neuro stated that based on appearance of lesions, it was probably much longer than that. Yeah, and I've got some old scars on my frontal lobe that they're telling me that they've been there for quite a while. My first neuro actually missed them. He didn't even see the old scarring on my frontal lobe, but the neuro I have now is an MS specialist, so he is much more in tune with that kind of stuff, and he was able to pick up on it. MS me too, 2011, diagnosed but think since 94. Wow, that's a long time. Holy cow. Don't we all? See if I've missed any comments here. So, Goldilocks, I'm just curious. You don't have to share if you don't want to. Are you physically disabled in any way? Do you deal with anything like that, or is it just the progression of the existing stuff? What causes MS? MS is an autoimmune condition. It's basically where your immune system attacks your central nervous system, and it strips away the protective lining on your nerves in your central nervous system and causes your nerves to misfire and go rogue. It can literally happen in any part of your body, because when you think of the central nervous system, it's connected to your entire body, so it affects everything. But there is a current research thinking that the Epstein-Barr virus has something to do with MS, but most people have had Epstein-Barr virus, but it's such a small percentage of people who have had that eventually develop MS. And then you've got weird people like me that have never been exposed to EBV and doesn't run in the family, so it was completely random for someone like me. You had to quit work, been in a flare for over 3 weeks. Oh, that's rough. So a new flare-up. Steelers girl, I was diagnosed October of 2020. So you've been dealing with this for a while then. Was it a relatively quick process for you, Sterling girl? Excuse me, Steelers girl. Giddy Gammers, still kicking it. Have 6 other autoimmune. Ask if you want. Wow. And it seems that when your immune system is overactive, it just seems like it seems more common than not that people tend to develop more than one autoimmune condition when their immune system is acting up like that. It bounces. Gotcha. Will lumbar spine MRI help show MS or only brain MRI? Lesions can show up anywhere. They can show up in your brain or in your spine. When you're referring to the lumbar is the very, very bottom of the spinal cord, and the central nervous system actually stops at the top of the lumbar. You got the lumbar, and then you got the thorax. I know I'm saying that wrong. Thoracic. I know I'm saying that wrong. And then you got the cervical, which is around your neck, and then you got the brain. And I actually read recently that when they're doing spinal cord MRIs, they actually will not do the lumbar region, just simply because most people with MS have lesions in the spinal cord above the lumbar region, either in the thoracic or the cervical or the brain. I thought that was kind of interesting because, the central nervous system does extend down into the lumbar region, but they don't always scan that part of it. I guess they will if there is a need to, if you're having specific symptoms that are associated with the very, very, very bottom of the central nervous system. Your mother died from MS. I am so sorry. I had a good friend pass away last year due to complications because of her MS. She had primary progressive, and she was older. I mean, she was in her 70s, and so she had MS and she was a teenager, so she had MS before they even had treatment for it. So by the time things progressed for her and medication came out, it was too late for her, unfortunately. But I'm sorry to hear about your mother. You lost mobility whoa, that's scary. That is so scary. And I think that is it is, you know, I remember last summer waking up to my leg numb. It was the scariest thing I'd ever experienced. It was, you know, I mean, that was definitely my scariest relapse. When you wake up and, you know, a high functioning extremity is numb, you know. Scary stuff. Sammy, I started taking Kesimpta 6 months ago. I still have blurry vision in my left eye. Got diagnosed August of last year. And, you know, optic neuritis, it takes a long time to heal from that. I've heard people say it took years before they finally got their vision back. And then I've also heard people say their vision never did come back. But that's another scary one. That's definitely one that would be scary to deal with. Steelers girl, I think I was diagnosed when I was in 6th grade, but not sure. Oh wow, you were young. You were very young. Feeble Hearts, new here. I was diagnosed with MS in December 2022. You are a fresh face to the family. I was happy to find a community on TikTok. We have a great community on TikTok. There's myself, there's Kayla Unstable, Sam, I forget her handle, I forget her handle, but she's awesome. SAL something. Anyway, she's a chronic illness coach. She's lived with MS for 17 years and was actually recently transitioned to SPMS. She does live events every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. I think. I could be wrong on that. Anyway, she is amazing. I would definitely look into her. If somebody knows who I'm talking about, comment it, because she is an asset on this app as far as people dealing with multiple sclerosis. I have learned so much from her. But yeah, we've got quite a few people on here and we support each other. We help each other out. We give advice to each other. So it's a great community here on TikTok. Beck Biscuit, I've advanced to secondary progressive MS. Was that recent then? That's always a scary transition to make. Goldilocks, 7 autoimmune diseases. Wow. Hi, Aaron. Good to see ya. Thanks for joining. Lumbar spinal tap is true test to show MS. It can help confirm, but there are other conditions that can have the oligoclonal bands in the spinal fluid. So if you have the lesions on the MRI, and a spinal tap can confirm it. Yes, they can use the spinal tap to confirm it, but if there is no evidence on the spinal cord, but you do have the positive proteins in your spinal fluid, typically they won't go off of that. But and there's even people where their spinal cords, their central nervous systems will light up like a Christmas tree, where it is very obvious it is MS, and they won't even do a spinal tap, because when it's that obvious, why go through an invasive procedure like a lumbar puncture to confirm it? Renee, I have started where out of the blue I start shaking and no diagnosis. That's certainly something I think a lot of us deal with. I don't know if it's like a primary, I don't know if doctors will do anything just based off of that one thing. Do you experience anything else, Renee, other than the shaking? Or have you been dealing with other neurological stuff too? Tallyhead, I saw Matt Embry do a presentation for the book Best Bet Diet. Matt Embry is an amazing person. His MS journey is definitely one to look at. And he does have a documentary called Living Proof. And it's good, but there's a lot of scare tactics in it, and I don't like how they demonize DMTs. And the Best Bet Diet, there's definitely a lot of research that has gone into that, but clean diet is not going to work for everyone. I mean, clean diet is going to benefit you whether you have MS or not, and it certainly can improve your quality of life. But, and there's a lot of people that have a lot of success with it. I don't deny that at all. Me personally, clean diet wasn't enough. Clean diet, staying active, and just living a healthy lifestyle wasn't enough for me. I started taking DMTs last year because I had 2 separate flare-ups, and I was in remission for 4 years before that. So I have absolutely nothing against the BET diet or Terry Wills protocol and stuff like that. I think it can be part of a treatment plan, and for some people, you know, it works great, and but for some, it's not going to be enough. So because everybody's MS is different. We all know that really well. You know, this disease is so fucking inconsistent. So, and it affects all of us differently. Okay, I'll get off that rant. Sorry. I'm probably way behind on these comments. Dealers, what? When I was in 6th grade, MS was barely talking about it. MS was barely talked about. Yeah, and probably 90s, I'm guessing, either 80s or 90s. If you're anywhere my age, it was late 90s when I was in 6th grade. You know, you never even heard about MS, but MRI machines have gotten so much better, especially in the past, even in the past 10 years. MRIs have gotten so much better to be able to pick up on stuff like this. Oh, my comments flew up. Let me see where I was. Bear with me, guys. I am way behind. I am sorry. Feeble Hearts, they did a lumbar puncture on me, but they did not do a spinal MRI, just brain. And if you've got multiple lesions on the brain, I'm surprised they didn't do a spinal, because usually they will, just to see if there was any active lesions, but it seems like why can't neurologists be more consistent, you know? GWW, my mother had MS over 10 years. She was bedridden for 8. Oh my goodness. It affects all of us differently. A realtor's like, oh, you sent me a butterfly? Well, thank you. I'm not sure what to do with these gifts, but... MS warrior for 27 years. I'm 48. Wow. You've had MS most of your life then. You're an old pro with this then. Scoot this a little closer. I'm reaching too far. I'm going to an MS clinic for an MRI. 17 years of waiting. Wow. 56. Let's see. Renee Sarkat and then Rosa. Oh, is that comment for me? Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. Beck Biscuits lost mobility from waist down in 2016 from nearly 2 months. Holy cow! Now have secondary progressive. Wow. MS Warrior 24 years. I have it, but doesn't have me yet. To be continued. Just keep moving. Just never give up on yourself. And as cliche as it sounds, maintaining a positive attitude really does help. I know how it is. That's the last thing you want to hear, but it really does help. Hello from Slovenia, Europe. I have MS for 6 years. It's been almost 5 for me. That still feels weird saying that. Diagnosed August 2022. Had a push for nearly 2 years, for 3 relapses at least during that time. Goodness. My eyes shake, I feel it in my brain. It works its way to my brain, arm in curls up, and legs start to shake. You know, and when you're dealing with the central nervous system, it just, where it affects everything, and you know, there's just, I hear people tell me, you know, new stuff all the time of what they're dealing with, and nothing surprises me anymore, you know, as far as the weird shit that we experience because of this damn disease. Nancy, I have MS over 3 years, 1 for 3 years, 1 for 2 years before, now fibroid, fingolemoid, I can't read. Fingolemoid. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm assuming it has to do with the muscles. Not too many people know MS where I live. You know, I don't know anybody personally that has MS. My dear friend I was talking about earlier, you know, she doesn't live anywhere near me. She was actually a neighbor to my parents. She was the only person that I know personally, and so when I decided to come on TikTok and join the community on here, was just pleasantly surprised, you know. And I even joined groups like on Facebook, but I don't mean to criticize, but a lot of it was very depressing. And so when I came on here and decided I was going to dedicate my platform to MS awareness, I wanted to make sure it was very uplifting and positive. Not so much focusing on the negative and what we can't do. So, hey Liv, good to see ya. Is water aerobics good for physical? Water aerobics is fantastic for several reasons, because you're in a pool, so you don't get overheated, and water, when you're in the water and moving in the water, there's no impact on your joints, and just the pressure of the water helps to relieve pain, and even it's soothing. Being in water, it is just in general, it is excellent for someone with MS on so many levels. There's no impact. Your risk of injuring yourself is minimal, just because of the pressure with you and how smooth it is. So yes, I would highly recommend. I mean, I'm not a PT, but I've been swimming for competitively for 10 years. Well, I shouldn't say I do anymore. I used to, but being in the pool is amazing. But I try to get out of bed daily, you know, and I don't know if you've seen my video about the neuroplasticity. Look that up, because that's some pretty amazing stuff, because it can be implemented not just physically but mentally as well. And there are so many simple exercises and simple mind games that you can do to initiate neuroplasticity. You know, it's not a cure by all means. It's not going to help everybody, but it's definitely simple things that we can do to help rebuild those connections for our neurons, so it can bypass the damaged parts of our central nervous system. See, sorry, I am so behind. So let me get going on here. I've been on Barabio for a few months now. I'm hoping next MRI has no new or worsening symptoms. My next MRI is this Thursday, and I'm getting everything, brain and full spinal cord. I'm going to be in that fucking machine for 2.5 hours, and I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm a little anxious to see what's going on. I think all of us get a little bit anxious when MRI time comes around. I had a major relapse in 2016 and now SP. Wow. That seems to be what does it, is you're stable for a while, and then, just little stuff here and there, and then bam, you get hit with a really bad relapse, and then the body just can't recover from it. I'm amazed at how many physical symptoms you can have with a few lesions. Yeah, absolutely. And then you have the pseudo exacerbations you have to deal with. The main relapse will cause the main thing at that moment, whether it's numbness or instability or weakness, and then once that kind of goes away, then you start dealing with the other shit that causes that offshoots from the existing lesions that causes the pseudos. I actually have a video sitting in my draft. I'll probably post it later tonight that talks specifically about pseudo exacerbations, just because I know they're confusing. They're confusing, they're tricky. So I figured it'd be a good one to do a video on. Let me just go through these. And shared the live. Well, thank you. This was kind of random. I have nothing else going on right now. No other system. I have fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia is, I've read briefly into it, and it sounds horrible, but it almost seems like it's a dumping place that doctors like to put people that they don't know what else is going on with them. It's definitely a real thing, and a lot of people suffer from it. But it almost seems like some doctors will just throw you with the fibromyalgia diagnosis because they don't know what else is going on. Where am I located? I'm in Utah. My comments flew up. Let me get back to where I was. Sorry, guys. I need to get going on these comments. I'm getting way behind. So let's see. I can't do treatment because I have IgG14. Interesting. I'm glad I found this live. I feel so alone sometimes. And I think all of us can relate to that, Goldilocks. I think that's why it's important to be part of some kind of community. It's the main reason why I decided to build this community, just because the process is so overwhelming, and then once you do have it, we're on our own. We are on our own so much, Doctors don't really help a whole lot because they don't even fully understand what's going on with us. Let's see, just diagnosed at 52. That's like what's her name? Blonde. Christina Applegate. She was in her early 50s too, which, if you think back, Michelle, do you think you've been dealing with it longer and just didn't really know what was going on with you? I have a big fear the MRI will not show the lesions, and I'll suffer forever without an answer. Just keep making noise. Keep making noise until someone hears you. And if they're not seeing anything on this MRI, but you are having neurological problems, a good neuro will continue to monitor you, and probably do MRIs every 6 months or something like that. But if you're having neurological conditions, then make sure you stay on top of getting into your neuro every 6 months or whatever and documenting where your progression is. Because if your neurological conditions don't get any better and they actually start getting worse, that can be signs of something else going on. Let's see. I go to neuro on the 10th, but from what I hear from your platform, they aren't going to be able to tell me anything for a while. It depends. It really depends. Some people, the process happens very quickly, and for others, it takes years. And so it just really depends. And also where there's just so many things that mimic MS, they have to rule out a laundry list of things before they will settle on MS. I mean, because there isn't a specific test that confirms multiple sclerosis. It's a matter of ruling out everything else. Hi, Ashweed. Progressive in your symptoms. Document it. Make sure your neuro's documenting it too. We've got to give ourselves grace and know that deep down MS may be a bully, but bullies never win. Hell no. Yeah. This bitch slap it back into next week. I was diagnosed in 2006. I'm now 54. My cousin also has it. It affects both of us differently. Yep. MS is a spectrum. It's a very wide spectrum. And everybody has different shit that they're dealing with. You know, when I was first learning about multiple sclerosis, I thought everyone had numbness. I thought numbness was just something everybody had. But I've now learned that that is not the case at all. Yep, I agree. I stopped the groups on Facebook for that reason. Yeah, you know, occasionally I'll go in to just read through questions to kind of get ideas for content, but most of the time you know, my heart goes out to these people, but it's just so important to have uplifting, you know, and to laugh about it every now and then, you know, or we go crazy. 27 and having hemiplegic migraines since I was 11. I have over 30 symptoms of MS now, and I am new to this. Well, you've like I said, we've got a great community on here. Have you had cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance. That's a critical thinking term. Are you meaning cognitive impairment? Is that what you're meaning? If that's what you mean, I deal with short-term memory loss every now and then, and that comes and goes. It'll stick around for a few months, especially when I'm stressed. When I get stressed out, my memory goes to shit. In Spanish is, let's see. Oh, there goes my comments again. I was almost caught up and then they flew up again. Bear with me, guys. Let me find where I was. Hey, Angie. I'm glad I was able to hop on and catch your live. Well, good. Glad you came in. I didn't plan this. I just decided, what the hell. And like I said before, I quit doing lives because they were exhausting. And I overthink everything. And so I want to do them more because I do enjoy them. They just exhaust me sometimes. But I just need to get out of my head. I need to just get on here and have fun and not worry about what people think or what I'm going to say, because you guys always have good stuff in the comments that keeps me going. So I'm going to try to do this more, and not make a big deal about it. Hi, thanks for your content. I'm 53 and I've had MS 30 years. just had shingles. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oof. You know, and I hear the vax for shingles isn't any better. I hear people pretty much get the flu when they have that vax put in them. MS and fibromyalgia. I see a lot of people that deal with both of those. Found 5 lesions on my brain, didn't do the spine. Doctors say it's normal and tremors are anxiety. Okay. I'd be getting a second opinion on that. Lesions on the brain are not normal. Was it a neurologist that looked at your scan, sarcasm and roses? Because even the radiologist report, radiologists don't see everything either. So I'm just kind of curious if an actual neuro looked at your scan. Renee, do you still have a healthcare team? Trying to figure out who should be invited to the party. Do I have a healthcare team? I have my neuro and my PCP, but that's about it. I'm not like a lot of people that have multiple autoimmune conditions or anything. I just deal with MS. That's really the only thing that I deal with. And honestly, I hate relying on doctors. I hate it. And in fact, I won't go to my doctor for anything unless my husband's dragging me there kicking and screaming. I hate going to the doctor. I have 5 very large spots on my brain. Neurologist said this is cognitive. Do you know what that is? This is cognitive. I'm not sure. 5 very large spots on the brain. Neurologist says this is cognitive. I'm almost wondering if maybe it's it sounds like some kind of neurodegeneration. Were they concerned about it or anything? Did they give you any kind of direction on anything else? That is interesting. Being your own healthcare team is exhausting. Yeah, but I feel like I know my body best. So, I don't know. Plus, I work full time. And so if I need to go to the doctor, that means I have to take a half a day off from work and schedule things. And yeah, I just rather worry about it myself. I'm probably, and you know what, don't do as I do. Because I'm really stubborn and hard-headed, and that's probably not the best thing either. There are things I probably should talk more about to my doctor, but I don't, because I'm stupid sometimes. It's my toxic trait. What can I say? You have migraines? You know, everything started for me. Everything started with a really bad headache one night. And woke up the next morning with numb spot right there. That's how everything started with me. But I've dealt with headaches my entire life, really. Having headache or even a migraine several times a month was normal for me, even before MS. And I can't help but wonder if that's why. I was diagnosed at 32, but when I look back, I think I had symptoms since a child. You know, that kind of reminds me of Selma Blair in her documentary. If you haven't watched her documentary, it's really good. But she talked about how her mother would literally drag her to school, and she would complain that her leg, she couldn't move it, you know, when she was a little girl. And she says, I'm pretty sure that had to do with MS. Okay, I've got 60 new messages. I need to get through these. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me see. I'm gonna see if there's any questions here. I have lots of leg pain right now. The Law 2022-4. Keep him in your prayers, guys. He's they are struggling right now. They found my accident. I had mono as a child too. How many of us had the mono? That you're referring to EBV, Epstein-Barr virus. It is very common. I have not. I'm one of the weird ones that have never been exposed to EBV. I hate seeing people getting really worked up about it because it is such a small percentage of people that have had EBV eventually develop MS. But I do like the direction that they're taking clinical trials where people specifically that have secondary progressive or primary progressive, it's in the third phase, I do believe, where they are going after the EBV virus and eliminating that virus instead of trying to cure MS and cover up the symptoms and everything and disease modifying therapy, but going after the EBV virus and seeing if it helps those specifically that have a progressive form of MS. Unfortunately, I won't benefit from that. So I've detoxed my body. I'm so much better. Detoxes can be beneficial, definitely. I didn't develop numbness into here recently. And my comments flew up again. Stick with me, guys. I gotta find where I was. I just keep rattling off. I want to make sure I'm getting through all of these comments because you guys always have good stuff, and I want to try to answer questions that I'm seeing. I just need to see where I'm at. Sorry. There we go. I know that the virus came in my MS. I have ALS. Let's see. Me to see if there's any questions in here. Yeah, big time memory loss. You know, and the memory loss is scary. Because I'm never the one that notices it. It's always my husband that points it out to me. Did lightning strike me? My firecracker hair. Memory is awful. What's up with that hair? You know what? People think it's crazy. I like it. It's a fun style. I went from long blonde hair to this, and because I needed a change, and it's fun. I like it. Oh, thanks, Angie. Appreciate it. Head pain, get lightning bolt jolts in my head, and it's miserable pain. Any ideas? I deal with the exact same thing. It's called ice pick headaches. It literally feels like an ice pick, or it feels like a 10-pound weight on my head, or my head will feel like it's on fire. You know, it just, for my headaches, I use a cooling headband. That works really well for me. As far as the lightning bolt jolts, if you find something that, you know, I don't know, they're not impeding on my life. They're more of just an annoyance more than anything. But if anybody knows anything that helps with the lightning bolt jolts, because sometimes they can be a little much. Hey, Chrissy, thanks for joining. Detox with zeolite powder. I have done some research into the zeolite stuff. It's been a few months since I've read it, but interesting stuff, definitely. Do you have speech problems? The only time get speech problems is if stuff in my head is really flaring up and I'm dealing with the headaches and the dizziness, just everything is boiling, my speech will get very slow. And in fact, I go back on some of my videos I watch and realize I'm talking slower. And in fact, a video I made a few days ago about neuroplasticity, I'm actually speaking slower in that video because my head was having a day in that video. So yeah, my speech will get really slow, and I will have these mental blocks that I will be having a conversation, and then all of a sudden it's like a wall goes up, and I all of a sudden can't talk, can't think, can't recall what the hell I was talking about. I hate that. Has anyone had eye crossing and reading backwards? Reading backwards. That's interesting. Eye crossing. I have heard of people that where their eyes will do involuntary movements when optic neuritis flares up. Yeah, no, lesions are not normal. Did anyone else develop other autoimmune after their... I haven't yet, but you know, I'm finding a lot of people do. You're doing great. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. Any joint pain? I personally have... Well, I shouldn't say that. I am currently having issues with my knee, but I think it's secondary. I don't think it's related to MS lesions. I do have weakness still in my leg, and so my leg will still get weak, and I am noticing that because I'm a runner and I've been trying to run and build miles again, but I'm finding that the more I run, the weaker my leg gets and it starts turning to jello again. But I have also been noticing that my knee, and that's also why I'm trying to take a step back a little bit from running again, because I'm to a point where I might injure myself in my knee specifically because of what's going on. So, and I think joint pain a lot of times is secondary, especially if you have issues with walking, if you have a drop foot, or like you're utilizing muscles around your hips to lift up your leg, that can cause lower back pain and joint pain. I think that's a little bit more common than primary stuff as far as MS is concerned. So if you've got weakness in a part of your body, or you're having trouble walking and you're starting to develop joint pain in your hips or your knees, ankles, it might be secondary. So that might be something you want to treat on a secondary level, instead of thinking that it might be related to MS. And that could require doing some kind of physical therapy or something like that. But anyway, let me get back to these. I'm currently in a relapse, new lesion on brainstem. Ooh. Limtrata in a few weeks. My black hole lesion is really close to my brainstem. It's on my pawn, in the cerebellum area. I've got a permanent black hole back there, which is what causes me my head pain. Yes, you've been to 3 neuros. One said 1 lesion per decade is normal, and the other said anxiety. My fucking doctors, jeez. 1 lesion per decade is normal. Okay. Well, I'm not the pro. That's frustrating. I'm sorry. MS Fighter, are you having pain issues RIF. I don't know what RIF is, but the main pain I get is in my head. Ice pick headaches and pressure on top of my head. It feels like a 10-pound. I tell my husband I have a 10-pound weight on my head that has a nail in it. And my head sometimes feels like it's on fire. You know, my head will get really hot, and that's actually how my husband can tell if I'm not doing well, is my head gets hot, like I'm running a fever. Haven't been on therapy in 10 years. Okay, messing. I did Limtrug, so good. I hate going to doctors, they don't know anything. That's what it seems like sometimes. I didn't have multiple until after diagnosis. Interesting. They didn't work for me. I was kicked off to Sabri, got way worse. Wow. Maybe my mini strokes. That's a good point, Chrissy. For Sarcasm and Roses, possibly mini strokes. I'm just really surprised they're not giving you any explanation of what the lesions are. So, yeah. They said they've been to 3 neurologists, but gosh, that's frustrating. How do you date? I was just diagnosed, and honestly, I'm afraid to put this burden on my future girlfriend. I'm married, so I'm not the best person to ask about that. If anybody has advice for Laura Nash 57 about that. One thing I would say, you know, even though I'm not relevant in that area, is be honest, you know, upfront. That's a safe answer, I guess. I want to go back full time. I walked out of work. They then couldn't walk for 4 days. They didn't give you an option to go on leave or anything? Wow. Everything started for me with migraines and numb face and arm. Yep. Mine was numb spot spread down my face, ice pick headache, dizziness. So let's see, I am very behind again. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm trying to get caught up on these, but I just keep blabbing. Let's see. Sorry, bear with me. My comments flew up again. So let's see where I'm at. I may have missed a few, and I apologize. The cost of medication worries me. I have commercial insurance. I have to pay 20%. Any help out there? Depending on the medication that you're on, if you go to their official site, sometimes they do have assistant programs for copays available. I'm on Glatopa, and I know that there is an assistance copay option available for me, but it's limited. And financially, I'm fine. So I don't utilize the assistance. You know, let someone else out there that needs it take advantage of it. But I think a lot of medication websites are like that. Also, sites like mymsaa.org, the MS Society, and there's one other one, the MS Multiple Sclerosis Foundation. They also have applications out there for assistance. I'm pretty sure for copays. I know they do for aids, like walking aids and stuff like that. I do believe there are grants available, and they have resources on those sites for that. Never had EBV, but I do have 2 great aunts that had MS as well. You know, MS doesn't, no one in my family has MS. I literally have no fucking idea where this disease came from. It just, yeah, it's really odd for me. I did recently read that there is a a DNA strain that basically you can, it indicates what kind of autoimmune diseases you are susceptible for. I mean, I'd be interested in that, but at the same time, it still doesn't make a difference, you know, about my situation now. But, and I'll never know, you know, where this disease came from. Let's see. Parasites and plaques. MS is not from parasites, no. We need a bigger front for lives with bad vision from MS and noxious neuritis. I've never watched any live events from my laptop, but yeah, I'm constantly coming in, even with my glasses on. Oh, thank you, Sophie. Thanks, Chrissy. You know, it's a fun style, and it's different. So, I mean, I live in Utah, and every woman in this state has the common Utah mom has the long blonde hair. You know, everybody looks the same out here, and I'm just like, you know, I want to be different. You know, I don't want to look like everybody else anymore. Thank you, Goldilocks. Appreciate it. You guys are making me blush. I have ice picks in the head. Yeah, they're rough. Oh, I hate them. And that's exactly what it feels like. It just feels like a nail in your head. Do you have burning numbness in your legs and hips? In my leg, I do. The area that went numb on my leg, the front of my calf and the side of my knee, the band of numbness below my knee, that area will get so itchy and so tingly, and and burn, and it drives me nuts. And also right here, when I got my lesions on my spinal cord that made a numb band across my torso, it started as a numb spot right here, and this spot right here will still just get tingly, itchy, and burn, and my leg will feel wet. Let me tell you what, last weekend when I was driving, I got one of those electric shocks, you know, that start in my foot, radiate up my head, and right after it was over, my whole leg felt wet. I thought I peed my pants because my leg just felt wet. It's like, what the fuck? So, not fun. I even pulled over on the side of the road and was checking myself and realized, fucking MS, what the hell? Jeez. That could be brain cancer. Are you referring to spasm in the roses? Gosh, you know, my eyes feel they're crossing double vision intermittently. Gosh, that's not fun. Does weather affect you? Weather seems to affect me in awful ways. How long should I wait to try? Weather, yes. The cold affects me worse than the heat. The heat does affect me, but the cold is even worse. This winter, I mean, now granted, I live in the desert, you know, I don't live in a place that gets super cold, but when I went and visited family, and in fact, so a couple of weeks ago, I had I went almost an entire week feeling great, you know, nothing going on. And I went up north to visit family, and it was a lot colder up there. And all of my shit started flaring up. Like, what the fuck? And I was cold all the time. And I mean, I'm sure the traveling had something to do with it, but anyway, the cold affects me worse than the heat does. So I'm thankful I live somewhere that doesn't get too cold in the winter. So let's see what we got here. Seeing a lot of conversations among others going on. When you bend down, is it worse? The pressure. When you mean in the head? My dizziness goes absolutely bonkers when I bend over. Yeah, I mean, that's normal for some people, but for someone like me that deals with dizziness anyway, I've about fallen over a few times because I'll get up and, and it just, so yeah, it does. Pseudo fevers. I'm gonna have to call them that from now on, pseudo fevers. And my comments flew up again. Luckily this time I wasn't too far behind. I'm getting better. Maybe. Now I'm having a hard time finding where I was. Sorry guys. There it is. Okay. My next neurologist appointment is Tuesday. More lesions and activities this year, so curious what they will do. Yeah, I mean, I've got MRIs on Thursday, and then my next neuro appointment is the following week, the following Wednesday or something like that. And it'll be interesting to see, just because this is 2022 was a very active year for my MS. Considering things were very quiet for me for a long time, and then 2022 just everything just blew up. So it'll be interesting to see how everything, what's going on, I guess I should say. What med do I take? I'm on Glatopa for my DMT. It's a self-injection that I do 3 times a week. And this past week, I have been dealing with horrible neuropathic headaches day in, day out, all day, every day again. So I have made the decision to start duloxetine again. I was on duloxetine last year for the neuropathic headaches. And I was on them for about 2 months, and they helped. They did. But I don't like the way they made me feel. I literally did not care about anything, and I didn't like that. But they've been getting really bad again, so I decided to start taking them again, just because it's getting to a point where I'm going crazy. You live with pain day in and day out. It messes with your head. So, but those are the only medications I am on. I have burning pins and needles from my chin down my neck. Yeah. Chrissy, mine started with drop foot and the leg weakness. Leg would buckle, bilateral, but not simultaneous. Yeah. I know you were going through a lot, Chrissy. A lot of fun. Yes, there is. Absolutely. I'm on Ocrevus and pay nothing because of copay insurance, but in Canada. Yeah. I just have a copay for mine. Where I have an insurance company through my employer, and here in the States, every insurance company is a little bit different. And if you have a company-sponsored insurance plan, it can just depend on what kind of plan that the company has you on. I'm very grateful that my insurance is actually very good. If I were to do Ocrevus, I would have to meet my out-of-pocket deductible first and then pay another 20% on top of that, I do believe. So if I were to do Ocrevus, I calculated it out one time, and I think I would have to pay a couple $1,000s twice a year, I think is what it was. Maybe not quite that much, because my out-of-pocket max would be max 2. Anyway, it depends. It depends on where you're at, and every country is different, and even here in the States, every insurance company is different too. Starting Copaxone next week, my first med. Yeah, Glatopa is generic for Copaxone, and I've been on it since July, and other than the occasional irritated injection site, I've been fine with it. I take it right before bed, so if I do have any kind of ill side effects, it doesn't matter because I'm going to go to sleep anyway. So, hi, 40-year-old mom of 2 boys from UK. Hey, that's me. 42. I'm 42 and I have 2 boys. They're grown. My mother has MS. I'm on Tysabri. Welcome to the family. I think I have MS, but not diagnosed. Yeah, well, if you're starting your journey and wanting to educate yourself, I think you do follow me. I think I've seen your comments before, but I'm just one resource, though. Do a little bit of research on your own as well. Your hair fits you. Well, thank you. I love it. It's a fun style, and it literally takes me less than 10 minutes to do in the morning. It's great. And trying to take care of long hair, I just got tired of it. I've had long hair for so long, so this is so much easier. My neuro told me autoimmune disease tend to run in families. No one with MS but me, but diabetes and other ones. I have an uncle that has Crohn's, and my brother has Crohn's as well, and a nephew that more than likely. And I had an aunt that had RA, but no one with MS. The itching, oh my gosh, yes, oh my. Yeah, and I catch myself scratching, itching. Let me show you what I use. Be right back. So this stuff is my go-to for the MS itch, Muscle MX. I'm not going to say it because I'll get shadow banned. They don't sponsor me. I'm not paid by them. I started using this a long time ago when I was still running a lot, and it's good for sore muscles, even sunburns. But I just decided to use it one day and was pleasantly surprised with how well it worked. MuscleMX.com recovery, but this stuff is great. But really, any balm or lotion that contains that will probably be just as effective. So I'm way behind on comments again. I'm so sorry, guys. The vibration plate sparked my ice pick headache today. Oh, really? Yeah, I guess you got to be careful with that. The band around my shin calf isn't necessarily numb, but it burns and gets tight. You can't, I mean, yeah, the MS hug around the legs and the arms, I get that in my knee. That numb band I had below my knee, it gets really tight. The itching drives me bonkers, yeah. Think a hair is on, yeah. Either a hair or you think you're wet. Do you know anything about medication called Gilenya? I have heard of Gilenya. I've never been on it. I've seen others comment about it. I don't know much about it though. What do you take that helps the burning in pins and needles? That would be this. This stuff is great for the spasming, just anything that's the altered sensations on your skin, and I think the way it works is this stuff is binding to receptors that get relayed to your brain because your skin is very absorbent. Don't mean to geek out on you, but I think that's why it's so effective. I had to move from Illinois to California, and guys, life change. Oh, probably because the cold. I'm thinking of just going to the ER to see if I can get a diagnosis. I'm losing feeling. You know what? And I went to the ER because my whole face was numb. I literally thought I was having a stroke when I went to the ER. Numbness that has stuck around somewhere on your body for a long time, that is not anything you want to ignore. So I certainly don't promote people going to the ER for any reason, but for something like that, I'd support it. So yes, it feels like something dripping down your legs. Yes, absolutely. Does anyone feel, there goes my comments. I really hate how TikTok does that. You'll be reading and then your comments will just fly up. So let's see. Where was I? No cold for me, I couldn't. I'm in the desert now too, amazing. And even though the heat is bad, I mean, and it's hit and miss. I went 2 summers where the heat didn't bother me, but this last summer, the heat was horrible. And in fact, my husband and I, we want to put in a pool for that reason, so that we both have a retreat to go to. Cold helps me. I'm less foggy and can move around a little bit. Heat and, and it's one way or the other. It's one way or the other. A lot of people say the cold, they do much better in the cold, It seems that the heat, it's more common for the heat to affect others. After my MRI, I'm being sent for a spinal tap. I'm so nervous. The spinal tap isn't fun. Yeah, it's not fun. Just be prepared to have a headache for a few days. Stay down. Stay well hydrated. A lot of people say caffeine. Like, if drink like a Mountain Dew or a Pepsi or something like that afterwards. I was actually surprised because I did a video about a spinal tap a little while ago, and a lot of people commented saying, drink something caffeinated afterwards, and just keep yourself hydrated. But if you do have a pressure headache for more than 4 days, definitely let your doctor know, because you might need a blood patch done. I don't want to overwhelm you. I'm sorry. Hugs to everyone. Thank you, Sophie. I have never done drugs. I'll have a drink, but I was always way too scared to feel exactly how I am. I've never done drugs. I'll have a drink, but I was always too scared to try. Yeah, okay. Now I gotcha. I did try the tea. what devil's lettuce? I don't know what it's called. It does help the pain, but it's the way it made me feel is just way too inconsistent, and it wasn't worth it to me. It just wasn't worth it to me. I hear ya, but the other stuff, the stuff I showed, it's not psychedelic, so it doesn't give you the high feeling. I still can't determine what is and isn't a relapse. The last flare had same symptoms and that it might just be your old stuff resurfacing, and they get tricky. Pseudos can be tricky, and when stuff starts boiling back up, Chrissy, if it's stuff that you've already experienced, if it's like your old stuff and it is sticking around for a while, the thing you want to pay attention to is it worse? Is it getting worse? And if it is getting worse, then that would be a good indication that maybe something else is going on. So, but don't be like me. Don't be stupid and not reach out to your neurologist. So it's so frustrating waiting on the official diagnosis. Yeah, it is. It was a 4-year process for me. I can't even get into a neurologist for 6 months, and that's, I hate how common that is. Where I live in a community of about 200,000 people, and last I checked, there's only 2 neurologists in this area, and neither one of them are MS specialists. So both of my neurologists were 4 or 5 hour drive from where I live. My current neurologist, who is an MS specialist, he's a 5 hour drive. Luckily, he does virtual visits. My first visit I did have to go in person, but they've all been virtual since then. But that's frustrating. There's definitely a shortage of neuros out there. I get a brain and spine on Tuesday with them. There's a lot of us getting. Hey Doug, what's up? My MRIs are on Thursday. Does the weather affect your MS? Did I see that? Yes, weather affects. It doesn't cause new flare-ups. It just makes your old stuff resurface and makes you very, very fatigued. Why I stopped the DMTs, I'm better now than that I went holistic. We're all different. Absolutely. And everybody's MS is different. Every body is different. So there certainly is not a one right way for everybody. But I'm happy for you, Mystery Melissa, that you've finally gotten some relief and doing it holistically. I think that's great. I take that for depression and my burning foot. The duloxetine, yeah, it's serotonin regulating antidepressant, but it also helps with nerve pain. We become doctors, I swear. Yeah, really. I have had so many people ask me, are you a doctor? Are you a doctor? And just like, you know what, I need to put a disclosure on my videos from now on, because I get asked it so much. I'm like, nope, just educated. I'm on my 3rd med, 39 and 3 boys here in Southern California. I'm in southwest Utah, the very southwest corner, about 2 hours from Vegas. Ocrevus since January. I hear so many good things about Ocrevus. Yeah, no one in my family with MS or other autoimmune thing, but did get mono at 14. So you got that one marker. It's good to know there are other persons here going through the same battles. Yes, absolutely. And you know what? All of our battles may look different, but we can understand each other. Definitely. We understand where that battle is coming from. Yeah, knowing my family, it's from EBV. I had an aunt who had Parkinson's, but she's a recovered. I use that as well. Had the duloxetine. Had the symptoms. Neuro kicked me out after only checked for. Whoops. Wow, holy cow. I do what Montel Williams does for his MS. I read up on him. I know I don't know exactly what he does. I know he stayed very active and did a lot of weight training and stuff like that. I know he was on medication for a while. I don't know if he is anymore though. I have a maternal cousin who has MS. She suffered with mental stability at the end. Took at the. Wow. I'm wondering if lupus is in my family, can connect to having MS. Lupus is an autoimmune. You've had EBV, Chrissy, healthy lifestyle. Don't smoke or drink. I keep my lifestyle pretty healthy too, and it's going to benefit anybody, whether you have MS or not, and it can definitely improve your quality of life. But I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome that you're able to fight this disease like that. Honestly, I wish I could have fought it holistically, but it wasn't enough for me. My comments flew up again. Gotta find where I was. There we go. I need some magic potion. Where'd you get that? Where'd I... Let's see, does biometric pressure make things worse? You know, I've kind of wondered that myself, because when a big storm starts moving in, my ice pick headaches start flaring up. So I would imagine it puts some kind of stress on the body, and our bodies are just kind of reacting to it. I went to the ER and got diagnosed with MS. When it's humid too, it hurts. Interesting. Had one moment of bad heart virus. Coffee, yeah. Something caffeinated for the spinal tap. Sorry for all the questions. Oh, no worries. No worries at all. And in fact, I'm assuming it's brandy. My direct messages is opened. You know, so if you want to send me a private direct message, you can. Okay. I communicate with other people regularly through my direct messages. My phone. My phone's acting weird. Okay. Let's see, I need to find control, that would be good. You know, and I would think most doctors are more open to doing virtual visits, especially post 2020. Getting my husband account in here so he can listen to. Awesome. We've been doing this, gosh, holy cow. I don't even know how long I've been on. Become your own advocate and you will learn so much medical stuff. Yeah, and one thing I have learned, because I read a ton of clinical trials, and after a while, because they can be super boring, especially at first, you'll be like, what the hell am I reading? But after a while, you start to notice repetition. You start to notice they use the same terminology for different things, especially when you're focusing on one area. Like, you know, I focus mostly on multiple sclerosis, but you do start to notice that the repetition, and you do start to understand it. But in the beginning, it's like watching paint dry. It is so dry. It is just so boring. So let's see. Trifedera for over 5 years now. Do you ever experience what feels like cold spots on your body? I don't know about cold spots, but I'm pretty sure my temperature regulator in my body is broken. And I honestly don't know if it's MS or perimenopause or what. Because I get cold super, super easy. Like, my office at work, I have it set at 78 degrees. And I still have a heater under my desk, and I still have a heating pad on my chair. So not necessarily cold spots, but just overall, I get cold very easily. So let's see. Comments flew up again. So I might be skipping over a few. So I apologize. You guys are great. I saw Montel once, which while at beach a couple yesterday ago before I got diagnosed. I think so many people with autoimmune have the, yeah, and the MTHFR gene, I have looked into that, and in fact, I'm going to be asking my neuro about it. I'm gonna ask if I can get tested for it, just because my MS is so random. There isn't there is a connection, but it is super, super rare for people who have MS to also have the MTHFR gene. So it's not anything I'm kind of getting my hopes up about, but I am going to look into getting tested for it. Diet? You mean my diet? I eat really clean. I don't eat refined sugars. I eat very little gluten, very little dairy. I eat a ton of veggies. And I drink a ton. This is a 32-ounce jug. I drink at least 3 of these a day. And whole grain wise, oats or wild rice is what I typically stick with. And I do eat chicken. I eat a lot of chicken. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I do eat some chicken, and I do eat red meat sometimes, very, very sparingly. So, but my diet's not too complicated. I just try to keep it clean. So I totally feel more headaches when the weather changes. Yeah, me too. You can't do hot showers. Does anyone else start shaking when they exercise? I just went to yoga and was shaking so bad. I do too sometimes after a workout, for a couple of days after, actually, even though I didn't overexert myself. How do you manage fatigue and training? CoQ10 has made a huge difference for me. I started taking CoQ10 back in November, I think, and that's definitely been a game changer for me. I do that, and I do work full time too, and when I'm at work, if I start feeling tired in the afternoon, I have dissolvable B12 tabs that I will take as well. But CoQ10 is helps a lot with MS fatigue. So, oh, thank you. But CoQ10 also, just check with your doctor if before you start taking it. Okay, we've got some more comments here. I'm gonna have to wrap things up here soon, guys. We've been doing this for well over an hour. Holy cow. Let me see if I can find where I was. I apologize if I didn't get to your question. You guys are posting so many good stuff. So let's see. It's MS. It's been happening me for forever. My left leg is dead, and it's always cold. Kayla Unstable, I know she has a video where she talks about how her torso is numb and her legs are weak. She has walking problems, and how she goes to bed with a heating pad because she gets so cold in the areas where she's numb. Your gynecologist diagnosed you with MS. Interesting. I thought only a neuro could. You have helped me with my recent diagnosis of MS now. Oh, you're welcome. And I'm glad that people find benefit in what I'm doing, because it's a very overwhelming process, and just trying to help people navigate it. Doug, the post-week I started losing core body heat, waking up with cold sheets, not warm from body. Wow. I have learned to get creative. I get hot, so I sleep with an ice pack under my neck. That works too. No red meat. You know, red meat's a treat for me. You know, I don't eat it all the time, but red meat is a treat. I enjoy it. No milk. Yeah. You know, and I've done the elimination process with different foods, and gluten does cause me gut issues. So I cut gluten out of my diet several years ago, actually, even before I had MS. I did the elimination with dairy, and dairy actually does not affect me at all, but my husband and my son have a little bit of an intolerance with it, so I just don't even buy regular milk anymore, because no one, I never drank it anyway before, but so I do overnight oats with almond milk, which is really good. I really enjoy that. Same, no gluten or dairy. I stopped eating chicken. Huge. Really? Interesting. WashU in St. Louis did study on red meat with a PT with MS. And you know what? Again, every body is different, because I actually researched into this gal who had, she had a plethora of autoimmune diseases from the time she was 17, and she got her master's or her doctorate in nutrition, and she went on a pure meat diet. Like, that's all she ate was meat, and it got rid of all of her autoimmune diseases, and that's all she ate was red meat, livers, mostly red meat, and most chicken. I don't know if she did fish, but I know she did mostly red meat type stuff, and it cured her autoimmune diseases. I'm just like, holy shit, you know, that just goes to show that every body is different, and every body is going to react differently with different things. So that's why I don't focus too heavily on diet, because diet is so individualized. So let's see, constipation, another thing with, yeah, unfortunately. Let's see. I use coconut, yeah. Thank you for, oh, you're welcome. So let's see what else we got. Sweet potatoes is a big, really interesting. Thank you for answering my question. You're welcome. Absolutely. Yeah, it surprised me too. And in fact, when I first saw it, about the girl who cured her autoimmune with just eating meat, I thought it was a hoax, and so I actually researched it, and sure enough, I couldn't believe it. She's a real person. She's even and she's a doctor herself. I think she is either a doctor or a master's in nutrition. Anyway, it blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind, and it just basically more convinces me how individual diet is. It really is an individual thing. Whoops. Everyone is different in what they find, but yep, exactly. Yeah, the sweet potato, that was crazy. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap things up, but I appreciate you guys joining me tonight, and I promise I'm going to try to get more on a schedule of doing the lives. It's like I said, I got to quit. I got to quit overthinking it. I need to sit down, do it, and just have fun with it, and not think that I need to do this organized thing or whatever. So, but I appreciate your guys' support, and we'll do this again. Have a good night, guys.